right, I'd like to call the 171st Annual Town Board or Town Meeting to order, and we'll start with the pledge to the flag, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll start with the approved $500. I give everybody a chance to put your cell phones on silent. We do like to collect the $500 the same night as possible. So. You left yours in the car. Well, you know the rule.
We got problems.
All right, we'll start with the approval and dispensement of the reading of the minutes from the 170th Annual Town Meeting. We need a motion to approve those minutes. And that'll come from the floor.
I'll move to approve the minutes and dispense with the reading.
All right, that's Mr. Sandy Hahn. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Mary Graves. Any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion passes. Okay, let's do our new officials. Oath of office, please.
And we'll start with Brian Fisher. Please raise your right hand. I, Brian Tom Fisher,
I, Brian Tom Fisher,
having been elected to the office of Supervisor 4,
having been elected to the office of Supervisor 4,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office
and will faithfully and impartially discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Receive your sign. There you go. Raise your right hand. I, Larry Wolf,
I, Larry Wolf,
having been elected to the office of Supervisor 2,
having been elected to the office of Supervisor 2,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially discharge
and will faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of said office
the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Please raise your right hand. I, John Merrick,
I, John Merrick,
having been elected to the office of Chairman,
having been elected to the office of Chairman,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully and impartially discharge
and will faithfully and impartially discharge
the duties of said office to the best of my ability.
the duties of said office to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations. Thank you. Congratulations, everyone.
Round of applause for the new members, please. All right, terrific. We have a proclamation this evening. Is Rita here? Have not seen Rita. All right, we'll wait until she comes in, then we'll provide the proclamation. Rita was a long-term member as election inspector, chief election inspector, and was to be honored this evening, so we're not sure why she's not here, but if she comes in, then we'll take a break in the action and we'll provide her that proclamation. All right, we'll start with reports. This evening's meeting, the annual meeting, is really the meeting of the electors. It's your meeting. We have a structure to it so that we have some process, but you're really in charge, and you ask the questions, and you really have an opportunity to have us and our vendors really answer any and all questions that you might have regarding the town, how it's managed, what the future may bring, what risks we have, whatever question you might have, this is the time and place to ask. The other time that we do that is the budget meeting in November, so there's twice per year that's kind of open forum. That's how town government is structured, because this is the closest form of government that you have to your elected officials. Very few layers, we're right here, so it's a good time to make your comments or ask your questions. So we'll start with the assessor report, which is Marty Keene from Tyler Technologies. Marty?
Thank you. This past year, the assessment of real estate and personal property within the town was $875,126,000, compared to the year previous, which was $986,164,800. Last year, the town underwent a revaluation where what we've done is reset all of the assessments within the community using recent transactions. And in this instance, we used sales transactions that were from 2011 and 2010 to establish that. Prior to that, with the assessments that were generated, they were actually generated back in 2006. At that time, they utilized sales from 2004 and 2005 to establish that value. As long as there's equity amongst those assessments, it's an acceptable method to collect the property tax, because everybody is at that same general level. With revaluation, there was a question, or why we needed to do the revaluation, is that there's a metric, a method of comparison that's in the statutes to make sure that our assessments are fair and representative within the community, and that they take a look at the classification of properties and how they relate to a market value, and when there's, you have to be at least within 10% of market value, a minimum of once every 4 years. We were at a position where it needed to be corrected within the community, that with the change in the marketplace, we needed to reset the values and bring everybody back on the same par. We feel that looking at the sales ratios and looking at the data, we felt that we've accomplished that goal. This year is going to be more low-key, like we've seen always in the past, where the only properties we'll be changing values on will be the properties that have experienced a change in their characteristics, a permit for demolition, permit for remodeling, addition, new construction, and also any individuals that have had any conversations with me saying, and maybe I should have came in last year and didn't have a chance to talk to you, can you please review my assessment? We're looking at probably winding down this year's activities and sending the notices out. I would hope sometime in early June. I will be double checking some schedules to see if that is an accomplished goal, and that we would probably end up having the board review the final time to appeal your assessment the last part of June or the early part of July. So that way then there can be a stable assessment at the end of the year when the levy's defined, so that you can have your tax levies and get your tax bills out on time. Thank you.
Any questions of our assessor? Get off easy. No questions? You can certainly ask them later if something comes up. All right, the attorney firm is De La Mora. Mr. Hector, who is typically here, Hector De La Mora, is traveling this week, and so we have esteemed attorney Doug Hofer from the firm. Would you like to give us an update?
Sure. Thank you, Angie. As many of you are aware, one of the most pressing matters for the town has been the proposed Town of Brookfield Incorporation. I'm happy to report that matter is currently on hold. There is a challenge that is with the Court of Appeals. We asked the Circuit Court to stay the proceedings in front of the State Incorporation Review Board, which will determine whether or not the proposed incorporation has met the required statutory standards. We asked the Circuit Court to stay those proceedings until the Court of Appeals matter is heard. The Circuit Court has agreed and has stayed those proceedings. As many of you are aware, the appeal is being led by the attorney Dean Lang from the O'Neill firm. He's considered one of the top appellate attorneys in the state. Additionally, my understanding is that our other outside counsel, Attorney Zeineman, who formerly worked on incorporation matters for the Department of Administration, is prepared with his presentation for the Incorporation Review Board. So when the Court of Appeals matter is ultimately determined, when it's ultimately resolved, we will be prepared to make our presentation, and obviously the town feels confident that the proposed incorporation will not be accepted by the state, that they haven't met the various statutory requirements that they're required to meet. And other than that, there aren't any other, in my mind, ongoing matters of concern, but obviously I'd be happy to answer any questions if any of you have any.
Any questions of the attorney? Town of Brookfield matter has been something that we've been dealing with for approximately 2 years now. The majority of dollars, we hope, has been spent on that matter. We're prepared to have a victory there. We're hoping for the best. We've put ourselves in a very good position. And the value of the property in that area is approximately $60 million. And it's 288 acres. There was really no negotiation that could take place unless we were willing to give up one of our businesses or one of our homes or a number of them. Now, these are constituents like those of you that are in the room. They just happen to have the town of Brookfield draw a circle around their homes. Most of us in this room didn't have that particular issue, but we would all potentially be affected by it because if that 288 acres and $60 million of valuation goes away, we will need to pay for the funds that are no longer, contributing. The other issue is we put about $700,000 of our tax dollars into improvements in the roads in that area in the last several years. That would include the improvement of Arcadian Avenue and $130,000 in a joint venture with the city of New Berlin 2 years ago to improve Springdale. Those would essentially be gifts to the town of Brookfield if they would be successful in their incorporation. So although we were asked to mediate with them during the summer, that was unsuccessful with the other people that are fighting the incorporation, namely the city of Brookfield, the village of Sussex, and the city of Waukesha. There was really no point in mediation unless you're willing to give something up. And the question for the board was really, who do we give up? Because each of the property owners in that area has a vested interest, has either a business or a home. In many cases, they're homestead families, people that have been in the area since the 30s and want to stay, want to be in the town of Waukesha. And the town board historically has felt the same way, that we need to protect the people in that area from being able to stay in their chosen community at the tax rate that they chose. And be represented by the board that they voted for. So we're very hopeful to be very successful there, and we should know in the next few months how that plays out. So, is there any other questions? Otherwise, you'll have an opportunity to ask. Yes, name and address for the clerk, please.
Michael Durr, S51W23661, Turner's Pike. What is it specifically, or maybe in summary, other than the obvious land issue, that town of Brookfield is not able to meet in their incorporation request?
Well, I'll give you a little bit of a summary. There are a number of requirements that proposed incorporation is required to meet. One of the requirements deals with whether or not the land is all together. In this particular instance, one of the challenges the town of Brookfield has is that this would be, as far as I'm aware, the first if approved, this would be the first incorporation I'm aware of where there was an unattached town island that was part of an accepted and approved incorporation. Now there's a number of other challenges too regarding their ability to provide services, the fact that they're leaving behind, I think, 5 town islands. that would be all that's left of the town of Brookfield. So you'd have 5 scattered, isolated islands that would be the new town of Brookfield if the incorporation were approved. And one of the standards is whether or not the remainder of the town land would be sufficient to survive on its own. I think it would be difficult for those 5 isolated islands, I believe it's 5, to survive on its own. And there are a number of other issues that we intend to challenge as well. I think those are the 2 most obvious problems with the proposed incorporation.
The land mass is fairly substantial that they're leaving behind. I direct you to the map 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 over from the end. You can see the large pink grouping on the top. That is the town of Brookfield. What's blue, well, it's easier to get up. This is town of Brookfield. This is town of Waukesha. This is the 288 acres that they're looking to take. This is a town island, so 1, 2, 3. There's a small town island here. This is a town island that somehow they feel that they need to keep, or will try to keep, and this is entirely, this pink is entirely the town of Brookfield as well. This includes a Superfund site. So their goal is to leave that behind. They need contiguous land. We happen to touch them right along this border, and so that's how they were able to take potentially a piece of the town of Waukesha. They took more than they needed to meet their 4 contiguous square miles. And part of that is that they used that additional land to play let's make a deal with the city of Waukesha. City of Waukesha did not play, but the city of Waukesha was approached with some of that excess land to say, if you support us in our incorporation petition, we will give you the Walmart site after incorporation. When that wasn't sufficient, they said, we'll sweeten the pot, we'll give you Peterson Auto Body and J.D. Byrider in that section. The city of Waukesha still didn't play. Kudos to them for not playing let's make a deal with people's property rights and people's livelihoods. So the town of Brookfield's tax rate is approximately twice the town of Waukesha's tax rate, or town tax rate. And so that's the history with that. So had we not touched here, they wouldn't have been able to do this. There's never been an incorporation petition ever tried in the state on an aggressive basis like the town of Brookfield is trying for us. One of the things that's troubling is the town of Brookfield received what's called a TIF, Tax Incremental Fund, in March of 2011. That is something that typically, thank you, that typically is only available to villages and cities. There was special legislation in this case that was provided to the town of Brookfield to allow them a TIF for their development of the old Menards and Marcus area. 2 weeks, I believe it was, after that TIF was signed, they entered into the incorporation proceeding and taking the 288 acres. We have not yet determined, in talking to them, meeting with them, and talking to others, the reason for their continued pursuit of this, but they've certainly been very aggressive in their manner, and we are not alone in fighting their aggression. The city of Waukesha, the city of Brookfield, and the village of Sussex are all in the fight with us to keep them from moving forward and taking this town land. So we hope to have that resolved, hopefully in the next few months. Other questions? All right, then we'll move on. Next is our fire chief, Dan Buchholz.
The fire department experienced a relatively busy year in 2012. We maintained membership at our average numbers. We did increase by 6. We were at 49 members at the end of 2012. But we ran almost 9% higher on run volume this year. We increased from 413 runs to 472 runs.
Dan, could you talk into the microphone, please? It's really hard to hear in the back of the room.
Of our run volume, the majority of it, again, is EMS. 77% of our calls were EMS responses. 23% are other types of calls, including fire and other miscellaneous calls. We still offer ALS service. About 28% of our EMS calls are ALS, the balance being BLS calls. We did contact 378 patients this past year. Of those, 35% are town residents. We still maintain 11 pieces of apparatus. Everything from tenders, ambulances, engines, our newest ladder truck, and grass fire equipment. Fire inspections were performed to state requirements by the Department of Safety and Professional Services, NFPA. We met our 2012 audit, paperwork was submitted, we would receive, or we will be receiving our 2% grant monies again in 2013. Of inspections, for the year we had 432 inspections, that includes all the re-inspections as well. There's about 190 initial inspections per 6-month period. So for the year we had 432 inspections. During that time we had 321 corrections. We had no citations issued this year. We hired a new full-time firefighter EMT inspector in 2012. He started in August. He comes with substantial credentials. Firefighter 1, 2, he's a pump operator. EMT will be paramedic within the next couple of months. He's a certified inspector, certified instructor. He's got Officer 1 training, hazmat ops, and it meets all the NIMS requirements. Fire department conducted all necessary fire drills in the public and private schools in the community for 2012. Participants in the fire prevention program ranged from preschool to senior adults. Participants included in 2012 almost 2,100 children, 700 adults, and we had over 46 volunteers from the fire department community that helped provide our fire prevention programs this year. The fire department was held a very successful pancake breakfast again this year. We had 1,141 attendees at the breakfast. It was a huge success this year. Fire department intends to continue to grow, keep working with our neighbors. We still maintain the I, or intermediate level EMS service. The state is in the process of kind of phasing that out. We're researching alternatives for the town and the best route for the town to proceed. Whether that be serving our community with our own paramedic program or an advanced EMT program, we're still looking at the requirements and the benefits to the town and the cost effectiveness of the program that would result from that. That's probably our major issue for the next few years to deal with is the level of EMS service. In 2013, we started back in 2011 implementing computer data terminals in the vehicles. The new CAD system prepared by, or put in by the dispatch center is now letting us actually get computer data terminals in our vehicles. We should have our first ones in our ambulance probably by the end of May. Hopefully we'll have the 2 frontline trucks done by the end of the year. It's new technology for the fire service. It's similar to what the Sheriff's Department and law enforcement's had for a long time. It should be a huge asset for us. I'm looking forward to get that project completed well as well.
Thank you, Chief. Questions for the Chief? All right, thank you, Chief. All right, we'll move on to Waukesha County Sheriff Department. Is there a specific report? I don't think so, but we do have our Sheriff's Department represented here this evening. Would you like to come up and just introduce yourselves to the group?
Welcome.
All right. We have a report on a monthly basis from the Sheriff's Department, and Deputy Chris Douglas, who's walking up, is our new full-time deputy, and he's comfortable in front of the mic, so have at it.
All right, as you know, Deputy Douglas, the Sheriff's Department, been here since January. Biggest thing going on right now, it's getting warmer. More car accidents are going to happen. People are going to be driving faster. Relatively, crime has gone down. Very small calls, not a whole lot going on in the town as much. Bigger calls, that is. Really, the big thing is citation revenue is way up from where it was last year. That's about it so far. Questions?
Questions? Would you like to introduce your captain?
This is Captain Larsoul. He's my captain on second shift. He's my boss.
I'm Captain Larsoul. I oversee the contract with the Waukesha County Sheriff's Department. Just to inform all of you, and I'm sure you've seen on the news, with the passing of Officer Don Bishop, the procession will be going through the town of Waukesha on Thursday, early afternoon. And Deputy Douglas will be in the procession with the town of Waukesha car as they will be going through the town of Waukesha.
All right, no questions, let's move on. All right, next up is Clerk Treasurer Jamie Salentine.
Good evening, everyone. I've been here now for 2.5 years, and 2012 was the year of elections. The town of Waukesha held 5 elections, one of which was for presidential. I'd like to thank, of course, our poll workers. It was long days and nights, and they did a fantastic job, especially with the new layout of voting. And yes, residents, I did change your wards, but they will be good for at least 10 years. The clerk's office this year had brought in payroll and processed all of the W-2s and 1099s to everyone, and it went smoothly. With QuickBooks being in our office now for 2 years, the town will be able to track the financials with the benefit of history at hand from 2011 to current, which will assist for our budgeting. At this time, I would like to thank my office staff, Deputy Clerk Treasurer Molly Romer, Office Assistant Aaron Votto, and Rick Schubart, QuickBooks Consultant. Our office has been a busy place in 2012 with the elections, and everyone stepped up to the plate for absentee voting. And they also handled over 2,000 residents coming in our office for presidential. Special thanks to Betty Paget and Judy Badura for the extra assistance for this. We may have looked like 6 flake lines on the last day of absentee voting, but all of our residents were joyful and patient if they needed to wait. Congratulations to Chairman John Merrick, Supervisor Larry Wolf, and Supervisor Brian Fisher on their win for their seats. I look forward to working with all of you. I would like to thank Chairman Angie Van Sock and Supervisor Everett German for their services to the town. They each had their specialties to assist the town and wish them the best. I'm looking forward to 2013, working with the board, and also look forward to assisting our residents of the town of Waukesha the best way our office can. Thank you.
Thanks, Jamie. What Jamie didn't mention is that in this year, she was also certified as a Wisconsin Certified Municipal Clerk. She, how many years of schooling did you have to go through for that?
3.
3 years of schooling, so she's achieved that this past year, and we're very proud of her for that. So she's done a marvelous job for the town. She's been through a difficult time and transition in the town, and then of course all the elections, and Jamie is an asset to the community, is an asset to the clerk's office, and I'm confident that the board will enjoy her service as she provides excellent service to the constituents as well as to the elected members of the board and to the staff. So thank you, Jamie, for your service. Jake, you're up.
Well, good evening. I'm Jake Linnell with Clifton Larson Allen. I've prepared here tonight for you a summary of the 2012 financial results. So I'll speak from this PowerPoint. There's also hard copies available for you in the back if you'd like to take one with you. But I did just want to talk through the product that is a result of our financial audit. So the components of the financial report, the end result. Good? Okay. The components of the financial audit, the end result of our work, the auditor's opinion is really the only piece of the audit financial statements that is our document as your auditors. And what that document, or what that letter says, is that our opinion is that the financial statements were free of material misstatements. So it's commonly referred to as a clean opinion. It's the highest level of assurance that we can provide you that the financial records that you receive throughout the year and as of the end of the year are free of material misstatement. Included in that financial report is also the government-wide financial statements, and these financial statements are prepared on a full accrual basis of accounting, so very similar to what a business enterprise would prepare. It includes all of the assets of the town, including the capital assets such as your building, your machinery and equipment, as well as the depreciation related to those assets. The fund financial statements are separated between major funds and non-major funds. The town has one major fund, the general fund, and one non-major fund, the fire department fund. Following those financial statements are the notes to the financial statements, and really what those notes provide you is additional information related to the financial statements. It gives you an idea of the policies and estimates that go into deriving the financial statements. Following the notes is the required supplementary information. This is the budget comparison for the general fund. It's a fairly high level, so supporting that is the supplementary information, which provides you additional information about the fire department fund, as well as additional detailed budgetary presentation information. So I wanted to spend just a little bit of time giving you a recap of the general fund financial results. So as you can see from the figures here on the presentation, revenues for the town, the actual revenues were $2.83 million compared to a budget of $2.7 million. So there's a positive variance there of $118,157. The categories that make up the largest areas of that positive variance were within the cable TV franchise fees, within building permits, and within the ambulance run fees. The expenditures, you can see, are $2.56 million compared to a budget of $2.83 million. So a positive variance there as well of $275,104. Much of that expenditure positive variance relates to capital projects that have been postponed and will be carried forward into future years. So that resulted in a change in fund balance of $274,786. Adding to the existing fund balance as of the beginning of the year of $1.4 million. So the fund balance as of the end of the year for the general fund was $1,691,775. I provided here a breakdown of the categories of that fund balance. So you can see non-spendable, that represents things like prepaids and inventories, things that are on your assets but not available for spending. Restricted represents the fire inspection funds that have accumulated over years that are required to be used for that purpose. Committed represents the funds that have been set aside through the town board for specific future projects. And then unassigned of $1.1 million is available for cash flows and contingencies. And that represents about 44% of what your total expenditures were for the year. So that is a very healthy reserve. That level of reserve is a positive thing for the town in terms of rating agencies and overall financial health. Wanted to give you a little bit of information about the expenditures of the general fund by category. So if we begin with the top right corner there, you can see the blue section, the general government section, is $629,136, or about 24% of your town budget is spent on general government. The things that go into that category are things like the clerk, treasurers, town board, legal, audit, assessor, the other operations of the general town. Public safety is $778,260, or 30% of the largest portion of your town's expenditures, and that represents funds spent on fire, police, ambulance, as well as building inspections. The highway of $477,309, or 19% of your expenditures, are spent on things like streets, snow and ice removal, road repair, lighting, street sweeping, those sorts of things. And health and sanitation of $587,790, and 23% of the town budget. The solid waste removal and yard waste removal is primarily what makes up those expenditures. Conservation and development, you can see it represents only 1% of your budget at $23,000. Engineering and planning predominantly make up those dollars. And capital outlay was 3% of your budget this year, or $68,000. And those are things that are capital in nature, equipment, things that, computer equipment, and things that are used on an ongoing basis for the town. To give you a bit of a snapshot of the revenues that make up the town's resources, again, if we start in the top right corner of the intergovernmental of $336,000, about 12% of your overall budget. Things that go into that are the state shared revenue, your state transportation aid, recycling aids, and fire insurance dues. License, permits, and fees of $201,187, or 7% of your budget, is cable TV, the franchise fees, building permits, court fines, forfeitures, those sorts of things. Public charges for services at 23% of your budget, and $645,588. Those dollars are made up primarily of the refuse collection, solid waste removal, as well as ambulance runs. Miscellaneous is nearly 1% of your budget, is primarily interest income. And then, of course, the largest portion of the budget is the taxes levied at 58%, or $1.6 million. Those are your general property taxes funding these services. And finally, I wanted to give a little bit of information just on the fire department funds. These are really the donations that are collected throughout the year for the fire department and spent on those services. So you can see total revenues of $8,000 compared to expenditures of $18,000, resulting in a change in fund balance of $10,066. The beginning fund balance related to those dollars was $25,340, resulting in an ending fund balance for the year to be used for future fire services of $15,274. With that, I'll take any questions you have. Thank you.
I got one quick question. First of all, thank you for a very nice presentation. I think the visuals are great, helpful, so I commend you on that. I have a very simple question. The answer may already be implied in your presentation, but are the town books for 2012 officially closed?
At this time, the financial information that's been provided to the town is in draft form. So there are no journal entries or any changes that we are aware of that should be made. However, they have not been finalized yet.
And when do you anticipate that that will be accomplished, or what needs to be done? Can you give me a forward vision of that, please?
Sure. Yeah, we just actually spoke a little bit about some vacations that are upcoming that we're working around a little bit.
I know about
The
the
transition of the board, so.
Okay.
So the week of May 1st is our intent to work with Jamie to bring that to a close and finalize all documents and deliverables.
Thank you very much.
Any other questions for Jake? Thank you, Jake.